The money that we've invested is really money to change things. And we don't build housing at the state. The locals, you all permit the housing. Developers, you are the ones building the housing. And so the state is sort of an interesting actor in all of this. But we have put aside almost $1.75 billion that is going to go towards housing. The state of California is a huge landlord. We own a lot of property up and down the state. Not just, just Caltrans alone has a lot of property, but many of our we have many other properties around the state, and we are actually looking at places where we have excess property that we can use to partner with locals and developers to build some innovative housing, not just in the homelessness space, but also in low to moderate income housing as well. I don't want to overlook homelessness because that is actually the other topic that is probably the most discussed right now with the governor and his top advisors, because it's really something that in all areas of the state you cannot ignore. It's everywhere, and this year we've put an unprecedented amount of money in for local governments, cities and counties, in these continuum of cares to really support the construction of shelters and supportive housing and other types of service infrastructure that's really badly needed to move people off the streets and into a sustainable housing development.
One of the things I've learned in my time in state government are the limits of the governor's office, the state government. So much of it is at the local level, and so we've got to, across sectors and across the state and local level, figure this out, because the one thing that we don't talk enough about is the need for supply. There's a poll out of LA end of last year, lack of supply was number 6 as a cause. We're averaging about 90,000 new housing units a year. It's about half of the 180 that's the government target. That's far less than the hundreds of thousands of housing units we should be building every year. So that issue has 2 parts to it. We've got to make it easier to build quicker, and we've got to make it less costly to build, because it costs a lot of time and it costs a lot of money, and we can't do that from where we sit. We've got to figure that out with the local level, and we've got to figure that out in partnership with the private sector. But if there's one thing that everyone thinks about and talks about who isn't already thinking about it and talking about it is related to housing, is we need to build more housing.
Cities particularly don't get a very big revenue from property taxes, and so we have to try to find some ways to try and at least make this cost neutral. And again, I'm sure there are bad actors out there that charge just these insanely high fees that will scourge development. But at the same time, these developers are trying to make money, and so they want to build market rate housing. They don't want to build lower income housing.